Today's video is the top 5 easiest VA disability claims. It's kind of more aimed at the beginner. So, this isn't a race. This is about getting everybody rated properly. So sometimes I go deep in the weeds, sometimes I don't. You might as well shoot for something that's easy to get approved. You get momentum going, and momentum, you need to have momentum, regardless of what your battle was like. Mine, not so hot the first 3 claims. But, I got a little momentum, but I just didn't know what the hell I was doing. So going after easier claims, path of least resistance, that kind of stuff, that's what you want to do. So I was approved for a few of these claims that I'm going to talk about, and I explained the process in my boot camp at combatcraig.com. Check it out if you want to learn more about my process in the form of video courses. So every year, the Veterans Administration reports to Congress about all the disabilities. And we're going to look at the top 5 of them. So tinnitus, mental health, musculoskeletal conditions, scars, and presumptive disorders. Of all these, tinnitus was the runaway winner. With this data, it was 157,152 newly awarded claims on the Veterans Benefits Administration. So tinnitus, better known as ringing in the ear, right? A lot of veterans are familiar with it from firing weapons without hearing protection or being near explosions or something like that. I don't even remember if we had to have earplugs, I'm sure, but they sucked. So it's routine to experience a high-pitched ringing in the ear for a few seconds after being exposed to very loud noises. Then that ringing just keeps going for like the rest of your life. So if you have tinnitus, you hear sounds that don't exist. They're in your head, they exist, but like a doctor can't tell you if they exist or not. There's different types of it, like clicking, hissing, ringing, roaring, humming, lots of different versions. For me, it's just a ringing that's there. And even though I won my VA claim for tinnitus, there's no fix for it, so I have ways to tune it out. And my main way is to not sit in a quiet place, because if I'm in the quiet, then I hear it and I start focusing on it, and then I can't get it out of my head. So I have like noise machines, TVs turned on. I have noise going on, and that noise is enough of a distraction for me at this point. And I've been doing this for quite a while, and I just need to not focus on it. So I don't need super loud noises, but it shows up differently for everybody. There's one rating for tinnitus. It's 10%, and it's subjective tinnitus. Only you can hear it. So they can't say they can't hear it or you don't have it. They'll send you to an audiologist for a hearing test and to check for tinnitus, but it's subjective. So there's nothing they can do. People get denied for tinnitus because their nexus is weak, in my experience and in my own personal experience. It started on the flight line and it never stopped. You got to pin it down to a point in time while you're on active duty service. So, you can use date ranges or something like that, but, it was the flight lines, it was whatever, flight deck, whatever you were in, you have to write that. That's essentially the nexus. Tinnitus is a low value claim, but once you get it service connected, tinnitus causes other problems. Other problems include things like migraines, mental health problems. I mean, think about it. When you're tuning out noise all the time, that's just what I do. But I was causing my ex-wife now mental health problems. Like, why do you have shit turned on all the time, dude? Like, turn some of this stuff off. It's like, sorry, babe, can't. But as I learned, that is part of my mental health problems. So once you get to tinnitus service connected, you could file secondaries. Headaches and mental health problems are two that come to mind, but there's a lot more. Um, it's important to learn about secondaries, and you can Google them. You can look at va.gov and look in VBA decisions and see how other veterans did it. Typically, there's a lawyer making the argument, but you can look at what other veterans did, what they connected it to on a secondary basis, and what worked. Doesn't mean that it's going to work for you, but it can give you ideas. Just remember when you're doing research, get the right research. You can talk yourself into anything. So get both sides of the argument. Why was migraine secondary to tinnitus denied? Understand that argument, and why it was approved, and understand that argument. So you understand, the differences. So mental health issues are number two. Not all scars are visible. Many veterans have significant mental health problems. A lot of you guys watching me fall in that category, and I fall in that category. And I talk about because they're not visible. That's why you don't talk about your mental health issues to your neighbors and your VA disability ratings to your neighbors. It's none of their business. They get jealous and, well, I want to sit around and do nothing and make money. And it's like, you're so far off. First of all, why were you just sitting around and smoking weed when you're 18 to 21? Why didn't you go fucking serve your country? That's what I did, and I got fucked up as a result. So mental health issues, PTSD is probably the most common, but other ones are depression, anxiety, somatic symptom disorder, to name a few. Disabling mental health conditions are, generally regarded as high value claims because you're pretty likely to get 30% or higher. Bottom line is mental health ratings 0, 10, 30, 50, 70, 100. Mental health is a path of least resistant claim. It's subjective. Again, you need to have a diagnosis for it, but you got to get that from a doctor, and you're going to get pills and you're going to do treatment or whatever you're going to do. But for the purposes of proving your claim, you're going to get as much objective medical evidence as possible. Mental health conditions are good secondaries as well. If you're service connected for an orthopedic condition, you fucked up your ankle, your foot, your back, your hips, your neck, whatever, that causes depression. So if you're already service connected for something, consider filing a mental health claim. Pretty good way to, move the needle on your claim. Number 3 is musculoskeletal conditions. These include strains, sprains, arthritis, reduced flexion, reduced functionality in your arms, legs, back, and neck. Like I had elbow surgery and I can't bend it all the way straight. So something like that. To be considered for musculoskeletal disabilities, you want to be able to show persistent and recurring symptoms, chronic pain. So hopefully you have something in your service treatment records, and hopefully you've been complaining, going and getting a diagnosis, getting range of motion measured, getting, probably not painkillers anymore, light version of pain, probably Tylenol. But, you need to be able to show that you have painful motion, limitation of flexion, weakness or fatigue, loss of power, loss of movement. Most VA ratings for musculoskeletal conditions are 20% or less, but you can file secondaries on top of those. So get it service connected. Even at 0% service connected, you can file secondaries. So keep that in mind. Again, I was approved for a few of these claims. So I have an orthopedic condition, I have tinnitus, and I have combat PTSD. So I have some of these easier claims. And if you're interested in my process, check out my boot camp at combatcraig.com. And I walk you through my process in the form of video courses. Number 4 is scars. The VA assigns a disability rating for scars from 10% up to 80. 0 or 10% are the most common. And while the scarring has to be quite significant in order to even get rated for VA disability compensation, it's usually a simple matter to get qualifying scars approved. There's usually not much of a doubt about where the scar came from because it's probably, if you were cut open on something, you probably needed stitches. And it's most likely in your service treatment records. It might not be in there, but most likely. And then scars, there's scar tissue. You can have, I have a scar on my elbow here, wherever it is. Pretty big scar when I busted it. So, does it hurt? How big is it? A lot of factors with scars, but that's one of the top disabilities that get rated. The last one is presumptive disorders. This is when the VA presumes to be something your disability service connected, even if there's no specific evidence or chain of causation. Presumptive conditions, I'll just go over the Agent Orange presumptions. So there's no such thing as Agent Orange claim. You need to be diagnosed for a disability and currently deal with a disability, and then you file a claim for that, and then you say it's a presumptive condition. So leukemia, there's different leukemias, type 2 diabetes, Hodgkin's disease, ischemic heart disease, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, prostate cancer, respiratory cancers, and then a bunch of other names that I can't produce or pronounce here. So if you served in Vietnam between January 9th, 1962 and May 7th of 75, and you're diagnosed with any of these conditions, you don't have to show a service connection because widespread exposure to Agent Orange, the VA will presume that these conditions that you're diagnosed for, diabetes, cancer, whatever, they'll give you the VA presumptive condition. You're not going to win it all the time, but you have an excellent chance. Presumptive means the VA concedes. They don't concede everything, but they concede a little bit. Combat PTSD claims. That's another one. When you have, when you're in combat, that's a concession is made because it's right on your DD 214. So if you file a claim for combat PTSD, the nexus is kind of covered in this presumptive part. You still need to have the diagnosis and the severity of the symptoms.